Hello, welcome to Melaninandalbinoid Live. I am Lydia Bimbola. Welcome to today's blog. Well, those of you that have followed my blog this far, you know my blog is mainly about the gang stalking program, the racist system, and the abuse of the fundamental human right. Well, I am Lady Abimbola. Today I will be talking about yet another public execution of a melanin man by the name Jacob Blake, who actually almost lost his life to a public executioner on the 23rd of August 2020. Jacob Blake was trying to de-escalate a domestic issue between two women at Kenosha in the United States, Kenosha County in the United States. The Kenosha County Police responded to an emergency call. On their arrival, they targeted the young melanin man by the name of Jacob Blake. He walked off the scene by the he walked off the scene, but the four police officers that actually responded to this emergency call went after him with guns pointed towards him in an executioner manner. He got to his car because he had his three young kids waiting for him in the car. He had with him also his the mother of his kids with him in the process. While he was getting into his car, they fired six bullets was fired by public executioner. To us melanin people, they are no longer law enforcement agents, but they are now public executioner. This public executioner officer by the name Rustin Shesky, I hope I pronounce it well, it doesn't really matter, on a man that is unarmed, one, and has his back on him, so it was not a threat, two, in front of three innocent kids. They were aware that there were kids in the car because the mother of his children was shouting, "Let me get my kids, let me get my kids," because she didn't know what was going to happen. And since we're all used to the public execution of the melanin men, if they're not throwing them in jail, they're actually publicly killing them and even assaulting the melanin women. Mr. Jacob Blake, who is 29 years old, a very young man, a melanin man who was flown immediately after the incident to an hospital I can't pronounce, is Frotet. It's Froedtert hospital in Wauwatosa, Wisconsin. Oh my God. I mean, is this America or another continent? Well, it was flown in another county, in an hospital that was actually capable for gun bullet wounds. Well, he has since been declared paralyzed from the waist down. And doctors are unsure if this injury will be permanent. Well, I talk about racism, the gang stalking program, and the racist system is a system really, it's not something we should laugh about any longer, we should push aside any longer. It's not just demonstration, it's not just pointing accusing fingers, because there's so many melanin now that are really fighting against the system. They realize this is an evil system that is creating just disunity, hatred, and destruction of the human race. Though it is targeted at the melanin people, but also the albinoid are equally on the partial receiving end. Well, this racist system is established by some group of definitely delinquents and people that don't know what they're doing, that call themselves white supremacists. First of all, it is actually funny because the joke is not on us but on them. If you call yourself supremacist, that means you say you are endowed, you're so much above everybody, you are talented, you have this, you have that. But if you're really a supremacist, you don't need us to slave for you. You don't need the melanin people you don't need our organ to kill or to terminate our lives to steal our organs. You don't need us to become a slave and force us into permanent unemployment while you enjoy the benefit of our own destruction. You don't need to kill, to target the melanin men and destroy the melanin home by targeting our men, destroying them by throwing them in prisons or exterminating them with a public execution technique. Enough is enough. But one thing I realized with all my years studying, analyzing, checking, even thinking in my own head, what is really behind the craziness of racism? I can't find any excuse for this animalistic, beast-like behavior. To exterminate a life as if it means nothing. To destroy a race, hindering us from working and forcing us into permanent employment because you want us to live off a system, a social system that only feeds and throws out handouts to us. We can't live on a continent in Africa because even there's attack of corruption. There's not corruption by our people. Yes, we know our politicians, they are just brickheads that refuse to understand the fact that they are the ones being used for the destruction of the continent. Because you need to smite the shepherd for the flea to be destroyed or for them to flee. Most of the sheep fleeing all over the continent, but still yet we can't escape the racist system. Well, there are different court cases about racist system, about the extermination of the the melanin man, killing of the melanin man, George Floyd. The list is endless. Now Jacob Blake, and there will be more and more and more. Melanin men that was thrown into prison, 35 years of imprisonment. No investigation was made. It was just based on a false accusation of a racist, system-controlled, mind-controlled police officer. Well, I choose to correct myself. Uniformed public executioner. They get jailed just based on a lie told on a uniformed man. 35 years imprisonment, 25 years, 30 years, 20 years, 15 years. Young, vibrant, with bright-futured melanin men either forced into destruction through the imprisonment or extermination or stealing of our organs, stealing of our blood, and the abuse, the oppression is endless. Psychological torture, emotional distress, economical assault, physical assault. No melanin person on this earth, from the cradle to the grave, that would never ever say they'd never witnessed police brutality. I was physically assaulted by the police officer here. What was my offense? I stayed in a residence temporarily while the pandemic started. They wanted to force me in a position of vulnerability. They came, abused power, and even physically assaulted me. I made a police report. They tried to twist the police report. Right now, the police report is under question in the sense that if it can still be found, if it has disappeared, it's now under question. That is the speculation that it has disappeared, my police report. I added some element based on what was done to me. The video you will see in one of my videos here, my past videos in the month of March, that I actually showed when they arrived, they were threatening me, and after they tried to get away the video from me and as physically assaulted me, 2 police officers. This has now become a regular thing. You know what? There's no justice system that would actually save us from the racist system. There's nothing, no system established by the public executioner, by the oppressors, by the ones behind the racist system that can actually give justice or solve the solution, except we as a race, we unite together and fight the system ourselves. We continue to wait. We continue to look at who is going to stand up for our right. Nelson Mandela stood up for apartheid. He was jailed 27 years. He came back. They just gave him French benefit of being the president, a ceremonial president. But they still control South Africa. People like Martin Luther King came up. People like even Winnie Mandela came up. They called her, she's a narcissist, she did it. People can do anything when they're frustrated of injustice and they are very bitter of things done to them. So I'm not one of the ones that are accused of Winnie Mandela of anything if it comes from the oppressor. Any accusation comes from the oppressor, I see it as just a bunch of bullshit lies. I need to be convinced with a proof, they even invent proof now. They even set up people for proof now. So it's not just giving me a proof. They physically violate us, they violate our homes, putting videos in our homes. The abuse is endless. Psychological abuse, emotional distress, physical abuse, intentional, forceful unemployment. This has to stop. And you know what? The racist system can only be exterminated by the melanin people. We need to unite to do this. And the more we hate ourselves, the more we disunite. I mean, over here, I go through persecution. Before, it usually surprises me when I find my own people involved in this persecution. But it doesn't surprise me any longer. The melanin people, they're easily mind controlled by the oppressors. They can tell you a lie against your own sister, against your own brother, even though you don't see any proof that this person is guilty as charged. But because they stigmatize your own sister, your own brother, you take it as, oh, definitely she must have. Because that's the racist system. Is a system of mind control. They control the mind of the albinoid people to think they have a privilege over us, which they don't. It's just a mind control and an oppressive system. We need to rise and fight against this wicked system. It has killed enough melanin people. Are we talking about the Holocaust in Africa? But the only Holocaust that is being spoken about was the Holocaust that happened with the Nazi in Germany against the Jews. But nobody's talking about the Holocaust, the concentrated camp that was built in Africa before the slave trade. The concentrated camp. They tortured the melanin people in their own continent, sexually molested, assaulted, killed, the same way we are being publicly executed all over the world. This is a global crisis, and this is truly the global pandemic. Coronavirus, whatever it's made of, whatever it is, I don't want to even analyze that. The only thing I want to say today, the real pandemic that is of ultimate urgency is the racist system. Because of court cases, they have shifted the attack solely on the uniformed men. Because the uniformed men, they are things that can be used to extinguish whatever accusation. They can easily manipulate system. They can abuse power by actually abusing our phone connection, by tracing our phone connection, by tracing our lines, by actually abusing our homes, by manipulating and instigating people against us easily. That's why the law enforcement agent is the most important weapon in the racist system. We need to put a stop to it. Racist system is not just hatred. Hatred is part of it, but it is an evil system. And fortunately, so many white albinoid people now see through the deception of the racist system, and they're fighting against it. I'm compiling some videos about some melanin from albinoid people that are actually standing up against an evil system called the racist system. Just a few months ago, the problem was George Floyd. It was a global crisis and everybody got angry. Then they threw in a virus to diffuse the situation. Then a woman was killed in the police prison. I was physically assaulted unjustly, and abuse of power was taking place. I was physically assaulted by two male law enforcement agents. They actually framed me also in the process. While they were making report, they falsified their report against me. The process of investigation hopefully is still going on. I will update you on that. Racist system is a terrible thing. It needs to be stopped. In our own continent, it's not safe because they're manipulating, they're bribing our politicians, they're manipulating all things, they're practicing vaccines, they use us as guinea pigs on our own continent. We flee because our shepherd is, they smite our shepherd, we flee. With all our education, people with masters, PhD, graduates all over the place. We have the racist system torturing us psychologically, with emotional distress, physically assaulting us, framing us and lying against us to place us in a class with a bad name. Racism is evil, it's wrong, and it should be stopped. Melanin people, we need to unite if we truly want to put a stop to this. For us, for our peaceful coexistence in this world, and also for our children and yet children unborn. It is me, Lady Abimbola. Remember, the greatest weapon in the hands of the oppressor is the mind of the oppressed. So I always say, face your fears, elevate your mind, and resist every temptation to panic. Thank you very much for listening to me. Remember to thumbs up, and you can share. You're free to share this video. Thank you, and God bless you.